Hello. If you travel on a bus, you do so at your own risk. That's the warning from a woman who's been left with a £10,000 dental bill after the bus she was on crashed.
Leslie Ayres was travelling through Durham when the bus driver blacked out at the wheel and the double-decker careered out of control. She was thrown into the seat in front and left with smashed teeth, a huge dental bill and no compensation. Julia Barthram reports.
It was December in 2009 when Leslie Ayres caught a Go North East bus from Durham to meet her daughter in Newcastle. She was on the top deck reading a paper when the driver passed out in the cab. The bus veered across the road into two parked cars and hit a telegraph pole square on.
At the point of that impact, that was when I was thrown forward against the seat in front, which hit, the sort of bottom part of my nose and my mouth. Well, there was a lot of blood. That was what I was first aware of, because my nose bled a lot. The whole of my top teeth had taken the brunt of the impact, really.
5 of Leslie's top front teeth were smashed and her lip needed plastic surgery. At Christmas, she sucked soup through a straw. The painful dental work to reconstruct her teeth has cost £10,000. How did you afford and pay for that dental work?
Well, I had retired about 2 months before the bus crash, so I had some money put aside, which I've now used for the dental work. Wasn't what it was intended for, of course.
No, that was meant to be for your retirement.
Yeah.
Leslie assumed she would receive some compensation from Go North East, but 18 months and many legal letters later, she's been told they're refusing to compensate her, saying their driver was not negligent.
The law does provide protection for people from negligent acts of individuals or organisations, and in this case it was established and accepted that we hadn't been negligent and our driver hadn't been negligent because it had no foreknowledge of this condition. It wasn't possible for him to know that it was there, and therefore not possible for us to know it was there.
Leslie's solicitor accepts that the law backs up the company, leaving Leslie to pick up the bill alone.
It's quite interesting that on some of their buses they have painted on the side a number to ring for customer services, whereas actually I think what they should say is customers travel on this bus entirely at their own risk.
Well, joining us now is insurance broker Willard Wright. Willard, I hope you can throw some light on this for us. A lot of people might be surprised to think that Leslie can't actually get her teeth fixed through her insurance. Now, what is the basis in law for this?
Well, Leslie would have to prove, if she was going to make a claim for compensation against the bus company, that there'd been some liability on behalf of the bus company. In turn, that the driver had been negligent in some way. She's been unsuccessful because the bus company maintained there was no negligence on behalf of the bus company, because the driver wasn't negligent in any way. It was completely unexpected that this injury occurred and this accident occurred.
It was an act of God.
Well, unfortunate use of act of God, yes. It was just completely unexpected, and there is a basis in law to argue that it was completely unexpected, wasn't foreseeable, and the bus company are allowed to defend themselves on that basis of law.
It's such a blame culture that we live in, a compensation culture, isn't it? If you were travelling with a friend who was driving and they had a similar unfortunate accident, you wouldn't think about suing your friend. It's only because perhaps a transaction has taken place and we think we've purchased something, therefore we're owed something in return.
No, it's irrelevant whether there was a transaction in these circumstances. Everybody has a duty of care to not injure their neighbour and try and avoid people from being injured. Whether your friend's driving or whether the paid bus driver is driving, it's irrelevant. They both have a duty of care to avoid people being injured in their vehicle. So that's not relevant.
So can lots of people use this now? I mean, if you're driving along and you have a bad headache and it causes you to maybe lose concentration, you do something wrong in the car, driver error, you cause an accident. Is that the same thing?
No, what happens is that the law says that it must be unexpected. There's a legal case, Mansfield versus Weetabix from 1997, and this has set down the conditions for in driving as to where liability would arise. If it's sudden and unexpected and the driver just can't react, then there's no negligence and no liability. But if somebody has time to take avoiding action, then it's been held that the driver would be liable, and therefore his employer, in these circumstances, if there is an employer, would be liable as well.
You mean like if you feel poorly, you've got to stop driving? Is that what you mean by avoiding action?
You are. You're expected to take avoiding action.
You've got to take responsibility.
You have to take responsibility for your actions, exactly.
We were chatting earlier and we were talking about sneezing while you drive. If you know that you've got bad hay fever and you sneeze occasionally when you drive, then you're saying that's something that could be avoided.
Yeah, that's true. It's avoidable. It's almost expected that you may sneeze. It's certainly not unexpected, and you would have difficulty defending yourselves if you sneezed and had a motor accident which caused injury or damage.
You've cleared up the foreseeable element of it and the negligence element. As an insurance broker, does it sadden you the number of claims that people perhaps try to make when absolutely it's just an accident and there's nobody to blame?
Well, yes, we see a lot of people trying to make claims where there's an accident, but very often there is liability. This is a very unusual circumstance where you have an unexpected, genuinely unexpected case of somebody passing out and unable to drive and people being injured as a result.
Sometimes it's nobody's fault, it's just unfortunate. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you.